I feel like I've spent the last 5 years of my life avoiding talking about what I'm about to talk to you about. So the fact that I got on a plane by myself to come to Querétaro, Mexico, to speak to you about something that I struggle to even speak to my best friends about is the most elaborate trick I've ever played on myself to overcome an emotional hurdle. Coping mechanisms are not all treated equally. If it were drugs or alcohol or parties or recklessness, I would have been interventioned. But the hustle, the hustle makes our dreams come true. The hustle puts us on stages. The hustle it looks too much like progress to be flagged as a problem. A seemingly perfect coping mechanism. My mom died in 2020. It was a relief. I hate uncertainty, and numbing anticipatory grief is harder than numbing grief. When she was alive, I had to keep myself present enough to have those last few moments with her. I couldn't turn myself off all the way. Our last interaction, I was leaving her hospice room and I told her I loved her. She didn't answer because she'd been asleep for days at that point. So trying to will some normalcy into the room, I said, "Hey, say it back." And she woke up frantically. And for just a moment, her eyes looked like hers. And she said, "I love you more than anything in the world." And then she went back to sleep. 36 hours later, I held her hand as she died. It was unceremonious and soft, gurgling breath slowing to nothing. And then I walked out of the hospital room with that feeling you get when you're forgetting something, but you're not entirely sure what. And then I had a minor outburst, well, I had a major outburst at the parking attendant because he insisted that I provide for him a receipt for the parking, and I had not thought to prioritize that particular day. So minor outburst, and then I shut myself off. 5 years and counting since that last outburst. So my song, If the World Was Ending, is my biggest of my career so far. It's the reason I'm no longer just JP. I am Grammy-nominated JP. It's the reason I, get people to let me do things like come to Mexico to give a TED Talk. Which really was a childhood dream of mine, and I'm grateful for this moment. That song came out 2 months before my mom died, so the very last time she saw me perform was that song on the Jimmy Fallon show. It was the symbol of success that she needed to accept that her son was not completely ruining his life by pursuing a career in music. And I'm grateful she got that piece. 5 years later, I've done a lot of things that I really wish I could have shared with her. Last year I toured around the world. I played over 100 shows. A lot of those shows with her favorite artist, John Mayer. And I met a lot of people who have let my music be a part of their life. And people usually talk to me about the things that I sing about. So, love, and heartbreak, and dead parents. I've met a lot of global members of the DPC, or Dead Parents Club. And I've been asked to give a lot of advice, and I try to give good advice, but for the most part I didn't know how to take this advice myself. The four most common piece of advice were: 1, let yourself feel it while you still can. 2, look for them in you, and then nurture the parts of yourself where you find them. 3, your relationship with them can grow without them. That's the biggest one for me. My relationship with her can grow without her. And 4, have grace with yourself if you don't know how to stop expecting everything to go wrong all the time. I'd gotten quite good at making things happen in my life, and increasingly bad at feeling it when it did. To misquote Brené Brown's TED Talk, you cannot selectively numb your emotions. Emotions are a master dial. If you turn down sadness, you turn down joy. I like that a lot, but I was really bad at it and still very much trying my best to turn all of it down. Unfortunately, the things I used to ignore my pain started to be what brought me back to my pain. I used concerts and relationships and work, and then all of that became reminders of my grief, what brought me back to it. It should not have taken a double dose of Adderall and 2 shots of tequila to feel alive on stage at Madison Square Garden. That should have been enough of a thrill in and of itself. But at that point, I had been numbing myself for so long that it had become physiological, and even the most invigorating moments weren't able to break through that numbness. What I had used to protect myself from my grief, from my pain, from my sadness, it was now protecting me from the best moments of my life. And I didn't want that to keep being my reality. So the part of my mom that I didn't really know was the Peruvian part. My mom lived in Peru for 20 years. It was her favorite place in the world. And she had always wanted me to collaborate with Latin artists. I didn't while she was alive, but she felt particularly passionate that If the World Was Ending was the song that I should do a Spanish version of. She felt so strongly about this that she wrote a Spanish translation of If the World Was Ending. After she died, I received this really beautiful message from these 2 Venezuelan artists named Mawiriki. I love them too. They were strangers to me at the time, but they told me that they loved my music, and that they had heard about my mom, and that they were praying for me. So I thanked them, and eventually told them about how my mom wanted me to do this Spanish collaborative version of If the World Was Ending, and I asked them if they would recommend anyone I sing it with. And they suggested their sister, Eva Luna. That version of If the World Was Ending with Eva Luna, at my mom's suggestion, now has over 1 billion streams on its own. It was the first of 7 collaborations I now have with Latin artists. I've performed with Eva Luna and her husband Camilo all over the world. I made an entire album with Mawiriki in Spanish. We got nominated for a Latin Grammy for that album, which means I've now lost a Grammy in 2 languages. So, although I went to Peru twice as a child, I was 7 and 10, my mom never taught me Spanish, which I'm furious at her for. My mom spoke 7 languages, Spanish was one of her first languages, and she never taught me. Some misguided thinking about not wanting me to have something with her that I didn't have with my dad. I never forgave her for this. But I'm learning Spanish now, on my own. I forgive her now. I have my own Latin family now. I have memories traveling all over South America, and she gave me that. Or I gave myself that by looking for her in me. And I found her in my life, and I found her in myself. I've recently stumbled upon the realization that grief can be fun. Grief can be adventurous. I feel close to my mom when I'm doing things I would want to tell her about. And sometimes I love that feeling. Sometimes it makes me want to vomit. But grief can look like joy if I'm pursuing joy in the things that she loved, like learning Spanish. Because I remember seeing her speaking Spanish and thinking that she was at her absolute happiest. She was the most herself in Spanish, although I had absolutely no idea what she was saying. I feel like that's grieving. I also went to Lima this summer for the first time as an adult. And I got to hear my madrina, my godmother, my mom's best friend. I got to hear my madrina tell me stories about my mom in Spanish. My madrina doesn't speak English. So she told me stories about my mom in Spanish and I understood. And that felt like grieving. The first night I arrived in Lima, I ordered 2 ají de gallinas from room service. Ají de gallina is my favorite food. It's a Peruvian dish. It's this creamy chicken dish with black olives and potatoes, and it's so very delicious. And it's what my mom most often made for me. By most often, I mean like maybe 5 times, but my mom didn't do that type of nurturing thing for me very often. So 5 times feels like enough to associate with a memory of how she took care of me. I don't really know how she took care of me. I mean, she worried. I wish I remembered her better. Better not meaning more. Better meaning I wish I only remembered the best of her. So a second ají de gallina, because indulging myself with something she did for me felt like letting the memory of her take care of me. And being with this memory of her, happy, thoughtful, adventurous, sober, Peruvian her, it felt like a celebration of the part of her that I would want to be with if she was still alive. You know, the part of her I wish that she only was, if she was still alive. So she can be whoever I want her to be dead. Memories are malleable like that. I don't have to deal with the inconvenience of her humanness. Memories can just be the parts of people that we choose. So I ordered a second ají de gallina. I looked out the window at Lima, Barranco, my mom's favorite place in the world, and I remembered her just how I wanted to. And that felt like grieving. The part that's been the hardest, the part that's hurt the most since the moment she died, wasn't losing the relationship with her that I already had. It was losing the possibility of what our relationship could have been. Losing what I imagined we might get to someday. But my relationship with her has actually grown without her. And I didn't see that coming. I know myself differently now. So I know her differently now too. I'm grateful for the world that I have run into while running away from grieving her. But I would like to really be in it now. I would like to be very alive, very messy. Maybe you can't really have one without the other. I've never performed the one song I wrote just about my mom. I don't know how to enter that feeling on stage and then exit it for the next song. And maybe that's suppressing. Maybe that's protecting my own personal experience. Or maybe that would be the kind of non-parking attendant related outburst that could actually be healing. I don't know, but regardless, I want to end today by playing that song for you. Because no one's ever let me be on stage this long without singing about love or sex or heartbreak. So I figure I've talked to you about death for 14 minutes. I may as well sing to you about it also. point, take it day by day, like there's any other choice. And baby, I'm a little too easy. I didn't always sing myself to sleep. You're still with me. That's what people love me say, and I hope I figure out how to believe them someday. 'Cause I think that's something that I'm gonna need. I didn't always sing myself to sleep. You sang me lullabies in other languages, and I still don't know what they mean. Like a little piece of you to know that's still there left for me. I'm okay, but that's not the point in either way. I'm still your boy. I hear your voice, it might bring me peace. I didn't always sing myself to sleep. I didn't always sing myself to sleep.